Hey guys, my name's Blake, and in today's video we're going to be installing a block heater in our John Deere 6410 tractor here. Now, a lot of tractors and equipment came with block heaters from the factory. Ours was sold new to a place in Texas where it never gets cold, so they just ordered it without it. So there are a couple of different types of block heaters, and what I have here is an aftermarket heater and a factory heater. Now the way this factory heater works is this is the actual heating element, and this inserts into a hole right there in the side of the engine block, and when you plug this in, the element gets hot and it heats up the coolant, which heats the block, which allows the tractor to start a lot more easily in cold weather. This type that I have here is just a magnet, and you slap it on the bottom of the oil pan or the hydraulic sump or whatever area you're trying to heat, you plug it in and it gets warm. These are not as effective as coolant block heaters, but I'm going to actually put this one on this tractor while we are installing the coolant heater, and I'm doing that because I need to start this tractor. Now, you may be wondering why I don't just plug in the coolant heater once we get it installed. Well, there are two reasons for that. Reason number one is these heaters take time to work. You can't just plug it in and instantly have a warm engine. You know, for that little heater to warm this thing up enough to start would probably take 2 to 3 hours. For the factory block heater to warm it up enough to start would probably take 45 minutes to an hour in my current weather conditions. So to install one of these, this heating element is actually held in place. You can see there's a little gasket right there. It's held in place by this fitting here. This fitting here will go in and sandwich this thing down in the block where it's supposed to go. And the reason for that is because the fitting has to be able to rotate to tighten, but you can see right here in this channel where this heater is going to go, there's no room for that element to rotate all the way around. So that's why that's made the way it is. And you can see this kit is part number Delta Zulu 102076. This is the current part number for this. It's January 2018. Part numbers change over time, but this heater fits a ton of different John Deere equipment. You can get one from your local dealer. You can get them online. I'll put a link down below to where you can actually buy this heater on Amazon if you want to help support the channel that way. It doesn't cost you anything, but Amazon throws me a couple of fractions of a percent for sending you over there. So this plug here is where our heater is going to install, and you can see it's got the factory paint on it. It looks like it's probably never been removed. So what we're going to do is remove this plug. Now, there are a couple of ways you can do this. When you're working on the cooling system, you have to drain the coolant. So I could either come in here, go to the coolant drain it that way, and then still get whatever comes out here. But what I am actually going to do is a little bit less correct, but a little faster and a little easier for me. I'm going to put a bucket down here, and I'm going to pull this plug out. We are going to lose a ton of coolant through that hole when I do that, but it's going to drain it down to the level I need it to be at to do this job. All right, so we're ready to go, and let me show you the tools you're going to need. Now, don't get freaked out. Yes, this is a 1-inch drive ratchet. This is a 1-inch drive socket. This socket is 1 7/8 inch diameter, and that is the size you need for the big nut. You don't have to go buy 1-inch drive tools to do this. You can probably find a socket that size at Tractor Supply or somewhere like that in a 3/4 drive. You can get a 3/4 to 1/2 inch adapter. You don't need the torque that a 1-inch drive socket set is capable of applying. I'm just using that because I already own it. Coming down here, this is about a 13 millimeter. All right, we got a little paint knocked off that plug, and I think my 1/2 inch socket is just about to work on there like I need it to. Now, like I told you guys a second ago, I am just pulling this plug out, and I'm going to let, oh, you gotta be kidding me. The end of the plug just twisted off. That's gonna slow things down. The little socket bit just twisted completely off our plug, and that is going to make this much more difficult than I was really hoping for, because this is not going to bite at this extreme of an angle. So let's try to knock this loose with a chisel. What the crap? This thing's just falling apart. All right, so you guys just saw this go kind of wrong. The head twisted off the plug, and then when I tried tapping the plug with a chisel, the actual body of it began to chip away. So I'm gonna throw some heat to this, and hopefully it will break whatever bond is making it stick this freaking bad. Because if I have to open up the hood and go in from the top, we will, but I would really like to do this just from the side. That'd be a lot simpler. My torch is about frozen. It's not warm here, folks. Is this a plastic freaking plug? No, shouldn't be. Shouldn't be. But that sure does look like plastic getting hot like that. That is about frozen and about worthless. That is a plastic plug. No wonder it broke. All right. Well, we can deal with that. At least knowing it's plastic, if I have to, I can burn it out of there. I'm not going to be able to get it like that. Well, I hope you guys can see this. I am successfully chiseling away the plug, which is now we're getting her to turn. I hope you guys can see this okay. I just had to get in there where I could get enough meat on it to hold for a second while I tried to rotate it, but I think I got it. Maybe. Not like that. There goes another piece of plastic falling off. Now it's turning. Yeah, there we go. See, just because something goes a little sideways on you, there's always a workaround. Oh, baby. Let's drain slowly. Not that there's really any chance of anything draining slowly. All right, while our block is draining, we're going to start putting our heater together. Here's our element. Here's our little gasket washer. We need that. Now we need to take this O-ring and install it on this big nut. And the reason for that is this big nut is what's going to seal against the side of the block, and this little gasket is what's going to seal the heater to the big nut, just like so. Now we want to make sure our heater doesn't fall off down in there, so we're going to put this little nut on the back to just keep it in place for now. Once we get this nut tightened down and it's holding everything where it should be, then we will tighten this little nut and pull all that tight together. So we'll come over here, and that's still dripping a little, but that's okay, and just angle the heater in, point it toward the front, and then tighten the big nut. See, there really is nothing to this. And right there, it's tight. So we're gonna come down here, and if you see these two flats, one, that's where you can grab the element with a wrench to hold it while you tighten, but two, that is lined up with the actual nose of the element. So we are going to turn it, and I need both hands, but we're going to turn it where the element is not contacting the engine block. It will short out and cause you all kinds of grief if that element contacts the engine block. You can see here now, our flats are pointed slightly upward, which means our element's about right there, which is okay. It's all nice and tight, which is what we want. So now we're going to come over here and grab our electrical cord. You can see it's just got two prongs on it that are going to go right in here and connect to those two prongs. And then we tighten the little nut to keep the electrical cord from falling out. Now let's refill our radiator. Now, one reason we don't want to use this block heater right now is because this cooling system has a bunch of air in it from being opened up. And if that block heater is just heating up with air around it, it's going to get too hot and burn out. John Deere recommends you bring the tractor up to operating temperature and run it for about 15 minutes after the install before you try to use that block heater. All right, so our block heater is in, our coolant has been refilled, our door hinge was fixed. You guys saw that video a couple of days ago. I have had that little magnetic block heater on the bottom of the oil pan for, I don't know, however long we've been working on this, and I really doubt it's going to be warm enough to start, but we are going to give it a shot.